Welcome, everybody, to the Awake and Sober podcast, a podcast about life and recovery through Christ. First of all, we want to say, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we also want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Tactile Turn. Do not forget, if you want your own pen, we all use them. Go to tactileturn.com, enter Sober15, and you'll get 15% off.
He ain't wrong, though, is he?
That's why I did it. Right
he
there.
ain't wrong, man. He ain't wrong. We all use them.
Oh, my gosh.
That's why I did it. I told you.
That's why I did it. My name is Mike Fowler, everybody.
Uh-oh.
Welcome to the Awake and Sober podcast.
Big Germ's got a
Podcast.
Really? So he's back 1 week out of what, 6?
Hey, I called in the other day.
You did call in, and I'm really happy you did. That was cool.
That was kind of
I'm
cool.
glad we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish we can spend some time figure out now the FM. Now that we got all this figured out, now let's dive in and figure out Riverside FM.
Yeah, right. Ooh, that was good.
We could do it.
That was nice. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Man, fabulous. Did you say that what we're going to talk about today?
Today we're going to be talking about, and it is the beginning of a brand new year. So we're going to be talking about, we're going to go into our series that we were hinting at last week. It's going to be, we're going to go through steps 1 through 12, one a month. And we are going to be starting today with step 1.
That's a good place to start.
Man,
Good as any.
why can't we start at step 12?
Man, we could two-step it if you want.
Oh, I like two-step.
1 to 12?
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Well, and I know whenever I first started recovery, I said, man, if I knew what I know now at the beginning, I probably wouldn't have been sober very, very long. You know, because we want to skip to at least to the 8th or 9th step. We don't want to do the work for it, but we want to at least do those and then get it over with.
In some way, shape, or form, though, you kind of start the 12-step work without doing the 12-step when you're new to sobriety, right?
Yeah.
Like that pink cloud. It's like I'm on fire for sobriety, and I'm telling everybody about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like, it's not a legit step 12, but
But it's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, without a doubt, it's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just to go to step 12 and then forget about everything else before it,
yeah, that's a problem.
yeah, we can't do either.
That don't work.
I've tried it.
Making amends, I don't need to do that. They know I'm sorry.
Yeah. What are those? So, step 1.
Sorry.
Yeah,
okay there?
step 1. It's going to be a lot of fun today.
Yeah. Well, how are you doing, Shane?
Man, I'm doing pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
That's good.
I don't know how else to say it, but pretty darn good.
Got a little Canadian in there.
Eh?
Yeah.
Pretty darn good.
It's
Eh?
good. Yeah.
If you're listening in Canada, what's up?
We're listening to Canada. I like hockey. Hey,
Hockey.
I like me some hockey.
Yeah.
Fold your chiclets back. Hey,
Anyway, so you're doing darn good. That's good.
I'm doing darn good. Got to play some left-handed pickleball today, so it made me happy. You know, because I can't really use that right arm as well as I would like. So I just switched to left for now.
Yeah.
I stayed on my feet the entire time, so that was a plus.
Yeah.
I didn't take out a fence with my nose at all.
Yeah, just so everybody sees that right there.
Yeah.
Got
You know, the war wound don't look as bad as what it looked on the day of.
The day of it
course.
was pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Would you have like a whole, like a palm?
It wouldn't like stop bleeding.
You had a palm
It was a,
Band-Aid
like,
on your face.
Yeah. Fortunately, Shane comes prepared for the apocalypse. So,
Yeah.
so there was towels. Hey, what kind of towel do you want?
Yeah, I mean,
you want microfiber? Do you want 100% cotton? Egyptian cotton? Silk? What do you want?
I do have it all. I
Yeah,
do
you
have
just
it all.
never know.
But here's what's funny, man. I went back there today, played on the same court, and Germ Skin was still there on the court.
A week later.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, not,
Right.
not bad at all.
No.
It tells me how well they clean those courts when I see them out with the Zamboni.
You missed a spot.
On the pickleball court.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But how are you, Big Germ, since no walker, no nothing today?
Yeah, that's good. You know what? I'm kind of in the next, I don't know, 14-ish hours, I'm going to be really relieved once the sale of the house goes through. I'm already feeling that weight being lifted, like knowing that I'll actually be able to come back now and be on the podcast regularly again. Just kind of settling down and getting into the new house. So, yeah. And I had a first today, and you did too, Mike. Peanut butter on a jalapeno cheddar dog.
Yeah.
So I got to know, what did you think of it?
I liked it, but I think it can be improved upon.
So just to give you guys an idea, it's a jalapeno cheddar hot dog and peanut butter slathered on the bun.
Oh yeah.
It was really good. I'd do it again.
I would do it again for
And
sure.
so next time I want more jalapeno in the dog, though.
I think that could have helped.
Yeah,
That
that
coulda
didn't
helped.
have a whole lot of jalapeno in it. It was pretty disappointing. But you could get one even from QT. The one from QT tastes pretty fire on that.
I bet
I
you.
bring them home and I put the peanut butter on. So that started for me back in when I was still in active addiction, but the stoner side of things, and we were broke, and I was tired of ketchup, and all I had was to eat was hot dogs at the moment. And I'm like, you know what, peanut butter. I love peanut butter, and that's where it started. And
There you go.
That has kept all the way through till today.
One thing stuck.
From the age of 17 to now, that's the one thing that have stayed a constant. Peanut butter on all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Michael, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing good. Got to hang out with my girlfriend's kids over the weekend, and it was so awesome. It was definitely trying. The 3-year-old, she's a three-nager, so it was no this, no that, no this, no that. She was saying no to everything, and so I'm journaling about it, and I'm like, it was a success. It was a good test, but it was a success because we got through it together. So looking forward to more of that. Went to church this past Sunday. Haven't been in a while. Went to Grace Church, and it was an incredibly spiritual experience. The pastor was talking about loss over the years, and just over 2023, and my uncle passed away, and I just a profound sense of peace came over me, and I actually started tearing up, and it was a very, very beautiful thing, and I'm looking forward to going back.
Yeah.
We're going to try the bridge this week, and we're still shopping, but man, it's good to be back, surrounded by joy,
Joy.
and just people are happy to see you just for the fact that you're there, not.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, you better be careful because if you go back, the spirit's probably going to catch you, and then you're never going to not go back.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm in my.
Just be cautious. I mean, that spirit's going to get you.
No, I believe.
Spirit is gonna get you. Spirit is gonna get you today.
It's just the Holy Spirit.
Isn't that
Special.
You said something I've never heard before. A three-nager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I raised, 20, 30 kids by now, and I've never heard that term before.
Hey, you learn something new every day.
It gets worse when they're actual teenagers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they tell you no in a whole different, way.
Can't wait for that.
Trust me.
Babe, we
done
got
a
our work
whole-
cut out for us.
Man, is it a pain?
So, step 1. Admitted we were powerless over alcohol or our addiction and our lives were unmanageable.
Yeah, compulsive behaviors. Because we do any hurt, habit, or hang up. So, a lot of it's just going to be compulsive behaviors, and that our lives have become unmanageable. How manageable was your life?
How manageable was it, or how manageable did I think it was?
Do both.
Both.
Because
Try both. I was going to say
because
both.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was managing my life just fine.
I bet you did.
But when you actually sober up and look at it, I mean, everything in my life was unmanageable. My job, my emotions, my relationships, my bills, and here I am thinking I have it all together, and I didn't have anything.
Yeah, that is crazy. How about you? Were you the same boat?
Yeah. Our stories, it's kind of crazy how similar they are. But I think anybody who has any sense of a conscience, when you go into recovery, you kind of get that realization oh my goodness, it was not okay. I same thing. I thought it was unmanageable, but at the very end, I knew it was unmanageable, and I just couldn't get out of it.
So you thought it was manageable up until
Okay. The last probably, I would say 2 to 3 months, and it was just that cycle I could not get out of. Yeah, finances, relationships, work. It was chaos, man. It really was.
So you didn't realize how unmanageable it was till you got sober, though.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree with Mike. When I knew that I had a problem, when I recognized I had a problem, and I was finally able to admit it, I knew that I couldn't get it figured out. And I knew if I kept drinking, I was going to kill myself. And I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live, kind of deal.
Yeah, that limbo.
Which is a weird...
Totally.
People that are like, I mean, some people might be listening to this, like, I don't understand that. Like, normies probably don't understand that. Mm-hmm. But, like, I didn't care if I lived or if I died.
Preferred if you died, but in a way that you didn't have to take your own life.
Correct. Yeah.
I was trying to drink myself to death every single night, and I kept waking up. It was like that.
Yeah, I wrote in my letter, I don't know if there's a heaven, but I know there's a hell because I live it every day. Mm-hmm. And that was my fear. If there is a heaven back then what happens if I do this? So how do I make myself expire without me expiring myself?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a horrible place to be in. And I realized how unmanageable my life was before I ever came close to quit drinking, because my whole goal was to figure out how to end it all. So I had a 3-month stretch of my plan being put into place for that. And then 2 failed attempts when I failed. 2 attempts that God said, no, stupid. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
I need you for some work.
Absolutely.
You've done enough drugs to kill a family of rhinoceroses, but you're good. You're not going to, I'm not taking you right now.
No. It was crazy. God said, look, you've done everything under the sun for 31 years. 31 out of the 39 years you've been alive, I could use you to reach so many people. Yeah. So I'm going to keep you alive, stupid. Quit trying. It ain't going to work.
So your first step one, you've probably done numerous step ones, correct?
A ton of them. Won't ever quit.
Okay. Have you ever had somebody just say, yeah, just admit you're powerless and your life's unmanageable and then go to step 2?
Yes. And I didn't keep that sponsor for very long. Because my first one, we dove in pretty hardcore. It was through AA. And I read so much stuff out of the book and had to write so many things that when he told me this, I'm like, yeah, something's off. I guess you maybe had the same.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think, and I know we've talked about this before, I think my sponsor sponsors how he was sponsored.
Yep.
And so on and so forth, right? And so, somebody handed it down to somebody who handed it down to somebody who hands it down to us. Mm-hmm. And so I did have that sponsor that honestly, in one sitting, when I asked him to be my sponsor, we went from step 1 to step 4 in 5 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I didn't stay sober. So
Shocker.
Yeah.
I like the fact that we're going to talk about steps, and here's why. Some people say you got to get through the steps as fast as possible the first time. Mm. Are you a believer or not a believer of that?
Frankly, I've never even heard that, so I'm not a believer in that. I feel like if you're going to do it, you need to do it right. So my first time, my first sponsor, he had 7 or 8 years sober, but he wasn't working a program. It was a guy I knew, and we played in bands together, and I feel like it was exactly what I needed when I first started, because I wasn't planning on working a program at all. Like, there's no chance I'm working a program.
I remember having that conversation with you.
Yeah. And then probably 3 or 4 months into my recovery, I was still in IOP. I talked to our Joe, and then I talked to you, and I was like, I think I had plateaued in my recovery, and so I needed something more. And then I called him because I knew he had some time, and he goes, okay, I want you to think of it like this. One, you admitted you were powerless. Okay, you did that. You went into treatment, right? You came to believe a power greater than yourself. You did that. You gave yourself up. You surrendered, right? And then 3, you made a decision to turn your will and your life over to care. And we'll go through 2 and 3 in the future. But he said I basically did all of those things by going into treatment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we went over some things, and it was more of I would say it's more of like a holistic style of doing the steps. We went through them, right? But his job was, he even said, he goes, my job is to get you through the first year. You are already way past what I can even do for you. And that's when I asked you about Jeff, and I'm on my second sponsor now, and we're doing things definitely a lot different.
How many years does he have?
Jeff? 20.
It's like upper 20s, right?
It's over 20. I want to say it's over 25. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Just a little bit of time.
Just a smidge. Just a smidge. Yeah.
He can legally drink.
His sobriety or his recovery is able to
Old enough to drink.
Yes. Yeah.
But how do you feel about that? Get through the steps as fast as possible.
So I think you should keep a steady pace. I don't think, I don't want anybody, so somebody I sponsor, I don't want him rushing through it.
Right.
And missing something. So I want us to be thorough with it. I also don't want him to get to a step and then he takes 2 months to do a step 4.
Right.
Or, it just be like, well, I need to think about this one for a while. It's like, well, then how committed are you to this? Mm-hmm. That would be my question to him. And it's not saying I don't want you to rush through the step, but at the same time, I want you to get through the steps.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't become stagnant.
Right.
You're constantly moving towards your end goal of getting through the steps, as opposed to, I did 1, 2, and 3 really quick, and then, like I've been on step 4 for, with 2.5 months or something like that.
Yeah, you've been on too long.
Wait, I haven't. I'm not on 2.5 months, but
he's on 4.
Yeah, it's
months, not 4 steps.
6 months. No, but I do know one of our good friends on a step 4, and it's taken him a long time, and there it's just like just pull the Band-Aid off, I feel like you're gonna talk. More things are gonna come up through your life of recovery to where it's like, are you really planning on getting everything out that first step 4? Pick some major stuff, talk about it, get it out, and then move forward.
Well, we keep doing it regardless, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so there's no reason to get stuck on it.
No.
2.5 years, 3 years. I've seen people stuck on them, and they usually don't stay sober. I'm surprised they lasted that 2.5 years being sober, but
so I will say that the sponsor that I take the way I do my steps from, okay, it was when we started, it was I'm doing step 1 this week. Next week we're going to talk about step 1 and we're going to start step 2, and then the next week we're going to talk about step 2 and then we're going to start step 3, and that's how quickly I went and got to 4. Was literally in 4 weeks' time. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was good because 7 days is enough to get me through those steps. He gave me homework to do. I did the homework. We talked about it. We discussed it. We processed it. And we moved on.
Yeah. But he also laid the proper expectations up front.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's people that say you need to have the steps, all 12 steps done before you leave treatment. And I think that's just...
I feel like that's asinine.
You can't do that.
I get it.
You can't do it justice, at least. You can do it, but you can't do it justice.
You could do it, but I mean, you're talking about doing more than a step a day, obviously, because you might be in treatment for 21 days to 28 days. And I mean, that'd be hurrying it. So how does your sponsor work steps? Like step 1, what did that look like for you?
So I had to, and I've talked about this before, but pen to paper on everything.
Yes.
Every single step, including step 1. So he had me write down what the definitions were of powerless, unmanageable, and admitted. And then I had to list 10 areas of my life that were unmanageable and 10 things I was powerless over. And then I had to define what step 1 means to me. Not what the book tells me it is.
Right.
Not what the 12 and 12 tells me it is. I have to define what step 1 actually means to me.
And I like throwing in, what did that word, the words that you have to look up for definitions. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll talk about RCR steps, but I say, look up those words, give me the definitions. Then I want to know what they meant to you before recovery and now after recovery. And so they have to do that for each of the words. And I give them a buttload of words for for each of the steps. I mean, yeah, we sponsor how we were sponsored, but I take all the good things from each of my sponsors and I pass that down. So I've been through 4 sponsors since I've been in recovery. And so it's taken a lot of stuff from a lot of people with a lot more wisdom than myself.
Right.
And now I pass that all along. Yep. And it's fun, but I feel sorry for my sponsees. And now I really feel sorry for their sponsees if this person had a couple good sponsors in their life that gave them assignments to do.
Yeah.
And I left this out, which is important. I was also in the book. So like, and the way we went through the book correlated with the way that we did the steps. So it was the doctor's opinion and Bill's story. And that's how it started on step 1, you know, and then it's like we broke down the next chapter and then the next chapter as we went through it. And to me, I think that's how it's supposed to be. That's how I think it is.
Right. But now what about, because I know AA does the manuals now or the books. Mm-hmm. Is that wrong, or is that also a right way?
No, I mean, I think that's the right way to do it. But it also, as you work through the book, it also works you, like through the little workbook, it walks you through the big book.
And I had the workbooks here. You could actually get them free on SAMHSA's website.
Really?
I think SAMHSA had them, and I know another website does. I'll send them to you, Mike, to put in the show notes.
Please do.
To where they can order them for free.
Yeah.
Because I have every single one of them, actually a couple of different copies of each of them here that I ordered from whatever website, and it was free. So nice. I love when we could get step study books for free.
That is nice.
Yeah. How about you? Huh? How about you in working the steps? How does your sponsor have you work them?
So we haven't gotten in depth yet. We've gone, so basically what we're doing is, reading in the 12 and 12, explaining and writing down what it means to us, and then we just discuss it, right? And that is how it's been up to this point. And once we get through that, then we're going to go back and dive deeper into 1 through 12. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah. So it's more of, okay, let's get an understanding first, and then we'll go back in and really, put pen to paper and really go through it. I love those workbooks too, because it's like somebody took time to go in there and give you an outline of like what is almost expected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where it's like, I'm good with writing points, but like if you tell me just to like read something and write whatever it is, it's a little bit harder, but if I have a guide, it's easier.
Right. I like, go ahead, Shane.
No, go.
Oh, so Joe and Charlie tapes.
Yep.
The Joe and Charlie tapes. Those guys break that book down, the big book, and then the steps in layman's terms to where anybody can understand that. One of the first meetings I ever went to was a Joe and Charlie meeting. And so we would listen to the tapes and then we would discuss it. And sometimes it would be a 30-minute meeting, and sometimes it would be a 2-hour meeting because that section they talked a long time on, Right. And I really, really enjoyed that. So if anybody's interested in that, you can YouTube them. They're the Joe and Charlie tapes, but they're definitely worth listening to.
Yeah, and see, and I like the books. All of ours are done out of these books. Now, the thing is this isn't where the steps start and stop. I still hand out assignments. I came from the secular world, and that's what we did. We always had assignments, but each of our steps have 2 lessons to them. So denial and powerless is step 1. You'll go through, you'll answer the questions. One of them has like 9 questions. One of them has 6 questions. So it all depends on what it is. But it really helps you to think through those things. Plus ours, you have to hop in the Bible. So instead of the big book, we have the real big book.
The original.
Yeah. So
the biggest book.
The biggest, best book there is, right? It has all the right answers in it.
Yeah.
Not the ones we really want to hear, but it has the right answers in it. And so ours just goes into the Bible. So you go to the Bible, you look up different things, and you come back to your step work. So I love having just, I guess, an outline, if you want to call it that. But I love questions and answers. You just get to write down and sit there and write. But everything for us is pen to paper as well. People try to type it. Not acceptable. Sorry, I don't accept typing. Now, if you can't write, I get it. We all know somebody that has a hard time writing with a pen. Well, I could accept that.
Mm-hmm. It was hard for you to accept that.
Oh, this isn't going to work.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what he said. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work.
I did, but until I found out why.
Right.
Give me the why up front. Don't just tell me you don't write. If you don't write, then I don't help.
Yeah.
You got to find somebody else.
Right, that's too bad.
Yeah. If you don't write, I'm sorry, man.
You know who you are out there, by the way.
Love you.
I'm the wrong person for you. Then he's like, he goes through the things. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. Lead with that next time.
Right.
Yeah, help me understand why you don't write. I can't hold a pen. Wow, that makes sense. How about your teeth?
Your feet work?
I mean, I'm a jerk, but I don't think I'm that big of a jerk.
Well, I mean, can we plug our sponsor one more time? Tactile Turn. What was that? I mean, we're talking about writing.
Yeah, we are. TactileTurn.com.
Yes, and here's that pencil.
Oh, that's this. It is pretty.
That is
This
the
is
Zerk.
a beautiful Zerk pencil. Now, this one don't say Awake and Sober. This one actually says Reclaiming Hope because I wanted to just get a Reclaiming Hope pencil.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, Zerk pen, Zerk pencil, some of the finest materials ever.
When did you get that Zerk pen?
I've had a Zerk pen.
Okay.
I traded for that online.
Okay.
So, no, this wasn't from them.
I was going to say, we're going to go fisticuffs.
If I have two Zerks and nobody else has a Zerk.
We're wrestling.
Yeah.
How much you want for that pencil, old man?
Yeah. That pencil's going nowhere.
Yeah, right.
As a matter of fact, I think I've written with that more than I have anything else recently.
Yeah.
You know.
So yes, tactileturn.com. Like we said in the opening, go on there, enter sober15, and you can get 15% off your order.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to have some nitros laying around because I forgot to order one for my wife, and I don't think she's too thrilled with me.
Yeah, I didn't get one either.
So if he's got a few, they're checking for me today. He's in Mexico. Of course, he's somewhere again, enjoying the travels. Mm-hmm. He was in Europe the first time when he answered and said, yeah, I'll sponsor the show. Now he's down in Mexico. And so he's like, I can't really look for a nitro for you right now. I'm like, well, just go enjoy the beautiful weather and the beaches then, buddy. And
Yeah.
I'll reach out to
Mexico.
Kevin. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it because if I get the wife a nitro, she'll be happy.
Yeah.
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 And you said Reclaiming Hope. That is where you offer.
Oh, man, we offer everything. But counseling services, we have meetings. We're training right now for the launch of our Celebrate Recovery. I need to go meet with some people from AA to see if there's any displaced groups that need a home. I hear that there might be some homeless groups coming up. Mm-hmm. And then we want to have CODA, AA, NA, the Celebrate Recovery, Alateen, you name it. We want to have something for the entire family. So
Whatever your flavor is, I dig it.
anger management classes I have started already. Got a few people in there because, they're going to court right now and they need some anger management classes. So
Get it.
you name it, anything that you might need, we have available for you. So it's a blast. The building's coming along good. We are hanging drywall. Anybody out there local to the St. Louis area that wants to come and help hang drywall, 8 o'clock Saturday morning, let's hang.
Where at?
8674 Orf Road, Lake St. Louis, Missouri, 63367. 8674. Yeah, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not a morning person.
No, he's not, folks.
But to get this drywall up and done, I will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning if need be.
Yeah.
I don't know what that tells. If you know me, that should say a lot.
Yeah,
I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get this done.
That's why you liked pheasant hunting so much, because it doesn't start till 10 a.m.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Season doesn't start till 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the best hunting
Which,
ever.
what's the plan for this year?
We got to go this year.
We'll go. Langland will be here. Keith, if you're watching, pheasant hunting this year.
What's up, PK?
Jeremy's not going to
I'm
buy
not going to
another
shoot
house.
across the highway either anymore. I was excited.
Not only did he shoot across the highway, missed the first bird 3 feet
It
from
doesn't
him.
matter anyway. So let's talk about step one.
Back to what we were talking about.
Yeah. So a we program.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that important? Doesn't say I admitted I was powerless over. Well, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our life was unmanageable. So what does it mean to you when it says it's a we program?
So when I was in treatment, Josh, remember Josh H?
Yeah.
So got really close with him, and he brought it up. He's like, it says the first word is we. So right off the bat, there's a sense of community. It's not I, it's we. And then I also love that he said it's in past tense, and it's we were powerless, right? So if you do these things, you don't have to be powerless as you were. So I love that. We, to me, when we are alone, we are easily tempted. When we are together, we're strong. I don't know if you've ever seen Planet of the Apes, but apes together strong. Against the sticks, Well, somebody out there is going to get it. Okay. But together, we are more powerful than we are alone. And I think that that's like one of the the key things. And we were talking before the show, and like, does any step start with I?
No step starts with the letter I or the word I or however you want to look at that.
Nothing.
None of them. How many of the steps would start with the word we? Go through them real quick. You're saying them in your head. 11 of the 12 start with we.
What 11? What
11? So as I'm sitting there going through them right now, we admitted, we came to believe, we made a decision, we made a searching and moral inventory, we admitted to God, we were entirely ready, we humbly asked him to remove, we made a list of all persons, we made direct amends, we continue to take a personal inventory, we sought through prayer and meditation, and then having had a spiritual experience as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message.
So 11 start with it, 12 mentions them.
Yes.
I love it.
All 12 mention we, none of them mention I.
Right.
You know, what's funny is I've never even paid attention to that. I mean, I've heard it's a we program, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I've literally just never paid attention to that.
So at Celebrate Recovery, we teach on one every other week. So you get a chance to talk about things like that. Why is it a we program? Because it tells us so at the very beginning. None of the steps start with I. They all start with we, except for the 12th, and then it finally says we. Anyway, we. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of circling this around too, Mike, you said there's a sense of community in we, and it's not alone, and it tells us, you know, wherever two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what Jesus tells us. So it's the same thing. I mean, we were meant to be communal beings.
100%. We all the way back in human history, we were in tribes. The lone man was probably going to die. That's why people started forming packs.
Well, it was before then, because when God created Adam, he's like, I need somebody for you.
Exactly.
You're kind of lonely.
It's from creation. We've never been alone. We're not meant to be alone. We are social creatures. And that is one of the biggest things that I teach when I'm doing groups at the facility. It's like we were alone for so long that once we start a program, no matter what the program is, you don't have to be alone again. Ever. As long as you work the tenets of the program. You know what I mean? So that was something that attracted me when I made the decision to start an AA program. Was it's we are in this together, you know. My higher power was at the beginning was, you know, the people in the rooms, because it was something bigger than myself. And that it has since transformed, and it always evolves, right? But that was the biggest thing, and the biggest tenet that I took was I don't have to be alone anymore. And that was so powerful.
So the only thing I could think of, when he said that about the apes earlier, what did you think of?
Honestly,
Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. Two are better than one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. But then at the end, it says, where are you going? A cord of three strands is not quickly broken. Yeah, so.
Exactly.
That's the only thing I could think of whenever he was mentioning the Planet of the Apes thing, and then you came back to the three, whatever you said about them.
Tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Everything comes from biblical references. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything good, I guess.
I was going to say something that you were talking, and I was really into it.
And Ecclesiastes messed it up.
Don't you just hate
it? Yeah.
Damn scripture.
Yeah, it'll come back.
You were talking about, the program. Mm-hmm. It's not my program. It's not Mike's program. It's not Shane's program. It is the program.
Of
yes.
AA, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, could you say it's the same thing with Celebrate Recovery? It is the program.
It is God's program.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I say about it. It's God's program. It's not Shane's. It's not Christina's. We're in there training people right now. And it's like, hey, look, I'm not even going to be the ministry leader at this place.
Sorry, guys.
I hate to tell you that. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, one of you sitting at this table is going to be the ministry leader, or actually two of you, a man and a woman. And all these other positions, you guys are going to fill them. I'm just training you guys in God's program and how to lead it. So that's it. Yeah, God's program. And I would say the same thing about AA. It is God's program because
Amen.
Dr. Bob and Bill W., godly men. and founded on Scripture. So they were smart enough to take it out back then. God gave them such wisdom. It's incredible.
It's kind of crazy how smart that guy was.
God's wisdom.
I mean, here's a guy who barely had 2 pennies to rub together at one point. And he's written a book that's helped millions of men and women.
And it's not like it's changed. It's kind of like the Bible. It's one of those things that's been left undone. You know, I mean, why change something that you know it had to be of God with the way it's lasted and how many lives it's impacted.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible for me to think back then, someone that was so bad in his alcoholism can throw together something like, help put together that book.
And I've also heard people that are anti-AA, because if you look at the history of when he was writing the book, he was on some psychedelics, right, at the time. But that was medicine back then. They put cocaine in Coke, for crying out loud.
Right.
Yeah.
They thought, I mean, in a few years later, they thought smoking was good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the times.
Kind of like now where they say marijuana is okay for you, but yet it's causing schizophrenia.
Oh, no, it's not.
No big deal. What?
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Frank?
Sorry.
Is that you?
Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, it's...
Schnozberries taste like schnozberries.
But think about the wisdom that guy had to have. And it had to be of God.
Yeah.
And for them to be wise enough to say, hey, we're going to take God out. We're going to say the God of your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need to reach the masses. We can't just reach this small audience here. We want to be able to reach the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
They wanted a broader understanding of it. And I love that too. You know, it's not, when I first started and, you know, like I said, my higher power has evolved and it's always transitioning and it is moving further closer to Jesus Christ and you know, God. It was, you know, it's not what you want me to believe in as your God. This is my God. You know what I'm saying? It's how I understand God.
Yeah.
So and it comes back to, you know, it's not your program. It's the program.
Mm-hmm.
If I work this program to the best of my ability with a God of my understanding, I think I'm going to be okay. I always say this across at all the rooms. There's 25 up to 45 people in this room. There's going to be 45 different sets of recovery that you're going to do. Whatever works for you, and the same thing as a program. Whatever God you understand, use it. Hold on to it. And it doesn't have to be like that forever.
No, I wish it was just one God.
Well, naturally,
but
you know,
who cares? And we've talked about it. I mean, think about it, especially at the beginning, how often we talked about, or at least I would say it, I don't care what your God is,
Mm-hmm.
what you believe in right now, just believe in something greater than you, please.
yeah.
Yep.
It has to be greater and bigger than you, because if you're it, this whole world's in trouble.
Self-will alone won't keep you sober.
No. And if you're your own God, you're definitely not staying sober.
No.
I think most of us tried that before we got into recovery.
I did that at the beginning of my recovery. I remember writing it in my notebook and telling my first sponsor that, and he just laughed. He's like, okay, this is your addict brain talking. I said, you know, I'm supposed to give it up to this higher power and whatnot. And I'm like, no, screw that. I am my own God. I'm doing the work. You know, that's where that ego.
He said, I give it to myself.
Yeah, I give it to myself. It's like, I'm doing the work, when in reality, it's like, no, God is giving me the tools to do the work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's giving me that opportunity to do the work. So and as soon as he laughed, I was like, oh, that was wrong.
So your first step, what was it like?
My first one?
Yeah.
I told you how it was.
Okay, so how about your first one that you actually put some thought and effort
Okay, let me
into?
take that. Let me back up. The first time I ever worked a first step one was when I was in treatment. The only other time I was in inpatient treatment. And I did steps 1 and 2 while I was there. And so I felt good. When I came out of treatment that first time, I had this false sense of security. And I had some of the therapists there were telling me, and I'll never forget this, that I was going to be that one. Like,
Ooh.
you're going to be that one that stays sober. You can just tell.
No pressure.
You know, because here I am coming to group every night. You know, I dove back in, you know, with 2 feet into spirituality and my faith and the Bible, and I was reading a Bible verse at every single evening meeting to everybody. I was that guy, and then I get out, and life got hard, and reality smoked me in the face. And so, you know, I did another step 1, and then the next step 1 with that sponsor was, like I said, 1 through 3 in 5 minutes done. And that didn't work for me.
So then when you finally dove in?
When I finally dove in, well, I'll tell you, I dove in about 2 months before I ended up in treatment when I was suicidal. So October 21st of 21, I had done steps 1 through 3, and I clearly didn't do them correctly. Maybe let me take that back. I did it correctly. I didn't apply it correctly.
So you didn't work it daily, first, second, third
Correct.
step.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, my sponsor said at the time, he's like, there's only one step you have to do perfect every single day. Every single day. You have to admit that you're powerless over your addiction and your life is unmanageable. He goes, you cannot afford to get that for 1 minute.
Nope.
And that stuck with me. And so, as you know, when I went to treatment, I stayed for a while, and I made sure that I completed my 5th step before I left.
98 days?
98 days.
For some reason, I just listened to that earlier today when I was editing. 98 days.
98 days popped up.
Yeah. You know, running or managing the house, the sober living house where I stayed, where I got sober, I guess I would say. Found my faith, found my path. You know, I've got 14 guys in there now, and I selfishly want them to work the program the way I did. I want them, I'm like, you guys are here for, I mean, I've got a guy who's going to be there for 365 days. Now, he is killing it on the steps. He's doing very well. But then I've got other guys that are going to be there for 6 months. And it's like, okay, what step are you on with your sponsor? Well, I'm thinking about getting a different sponsor. Well, just don't waste your time here. That's what I want to. I want to snow globe them, like Shane says.
Yes. It returns.
It's like, come on. I mean, I can tell they have the desire, because everybody I have there now has the desire and the want to stay sober. The want has to outweigh the need. They want it. And some of them want it more than others. And I guess that it kind of, I had to take a step back and accept that they are who they are, and I can't force them to do anything.
And they are where they are.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they're there.
Yeah. Because while they're there, you still have a chance.
Correct.
And they still have a chance. What was it like for you when you finally dove into step 1?
The first time I did my steps, it went really, really quick. And I admit it, every single day. You know what I mean? It's like a living step to where it's at all times. And I put it in terms of, you know, the treatment setting. It's like a relapse is always possible. I'm always powerless over alcohol or substances. One is one too many, and 1,000 is never enough. I know exactly what's going to happen if I try and take that power back. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
One's going to turn into 5, 10, 20, 30, and I'm going to be at the end of a barrel probably by the end of the day. You know what I mean? So it is a constant reminder, and I tell myself all the time, you know, I do admit it. I have to every single day. Luckily, I'm not forcing AA, but I use a lot of the AA literature in my teachings and whatnot.
Good.
Because it helps. I got that inner forgetter. You know what I mean? So the more I talk about it, the more it's real and it's feasible, and I can not taste it, but touch it.
Yeah, you could almost taste it with some of the way that people come in there anyway.
Oh, dude, yeah. That's no kidding. So, I honestly, right now, I'm looking forward to, getting through what I'm doing now and then diving even deeper into step one.
Right.
So I'm not looking ahead, but I'm excited for the future.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would say it was a pretty humbling experience once I finally did it the right way.
yeah.
Knowing that I'll never have that power over something.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah.
It's humbling because as men, we're taught we have the power over everything.
Yeah.
Except for that, really, we find out we don't really have power over much except for the way we respond or react.
Yep. My words, my actions.
Yeah. Whether we respond or react to something, that's what we have power over.
That's it.
But once we put something in our body, yeah.
And what I realized is that part of my life was unmanageable.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Just a wee bit.
That sense of control was really, really unmanageable.
Yeah, I love step one. Realize I'm not God.
I'm not God. And then 2 is there is a God. And then 3 is
I need God.
And I love that you said that earlier because it's just so true. 1, 2, 3, you can get through. Honestly, I feel like you can get through 1, 2, and 3 really quickly. You need to.
I would say you
thoroughly.
can, but
Yeah.
the third step is where people get hung up.
Very much so. Yeah.
It's easy for them to admit that they're not God. Not easy, but it's easier for them to admit that they aren't God. It's sometimes easy for them to admit that there is a God, but that they need God.
That's
like to truly accept God for who God is, that's where, to me, we lose a lot of people.
I think, this is just my observation, and it might be different for you guys. The people that have the hardest time with the God thing are people who were raised in religion.
Yes.
Wholehearted.
Church wound.
Because your concept
Mike,
is...
nice to meet you.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, because a lot of times in the treatment setting, these people are coming in with some trauma in their life.
Yep.
And so, maybe they were raised by a father who molested them, but also went to church every Sunday.
Yep.
And they associate, well, why would God do that to me? Why would God allow my dad to do this to me during the week, but on Sunday act like he was God's gift to the congregation?
Right.
And he was usually one of the biggest givers. He served more than anybody. He was one of the 20%.
Yep. That give.
Yeah, that give and serve.
And serve, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. So that's what I said. A lot of times it comes from a church wound. And that church wound could be your own family, or like Christina, that church wound could come from one of the pastors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's sad to know, but there's a difference between religion and relationship. And we have a relationship with Jesus, not a religion with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so there's such a huge difference in that. But some of the ones that have the best relationship with Jesus are the ones that have already been sent to hell. We've already been through hell, been to hell, and then Jesus came and got us.
Religion's for people who don't want to go to hell, and spirituality's for people who've been to hell and don't want to go back.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
I'll second, third, and 10th that one.
Right.
I'm in all day for that. Yeah, I mean, I was never raised in a church. We went to church, I guess, for funerals every once in a while, and sometimes a wedding. If someone switched, like my uncle, over to Catholic, and then you're up, down, stuff. Yeah, wasn't for me. But there's a difference, between a relationship with Jesus and religion. I'm not a big fan of religion now. We talked about it before. There are some things with the religion that make sense to me, baptism and communion and different things that we wouldn't have if not for religion. But the relationship is what we should be Christ followers. That's what Christians are, Christ followers, not rule followers.
Yeah, that was one thing I never had was a relationship with Christ or God. It was so regimented. My entire youth growing up, Catholic school, K through 12, right? Go to church this day, do this. I know all the homilies, by heart now, but I don't do anything with them. It's just it's there, right? And then, trauma, tragedies. I was the same. I was so angry at God, and sometimes I still am.
But you know what? He loves it.
And that's so true. It's not my place to it's not my place to put that much. I don't know. I feel like it's like a control thing, you know?
That he should control the people that did that to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the problem is there goes free will.
There goes free will.
Yep.
And I have to remind myself, God gave us free will. It is our choice he beset it upon us. What we do with it
Is up to us.
is up to us.
You know, I look at mine, Mark, that you said that, you know, the trauma that happened to me, I'm sitting here thinking about it. I think I leaned so much into God at a young age because I was selfishly hoping that he would take the memory of that trauma away from me.
Yeah.
But the thing is I actually never gave it over to him.
Not only that, but would you be as effective as in what you do now if he would have taken that trauma away from you for you to forget it?
No. Yeah.
There you have it. I know it's hard to see for some of us because trust me, I would rather, I think every man sitting on one of these couches right now would prefer the same thing, but would we be as effective at what we do if God would have did that? Would he be able to use it today for his glory? Because I don't know how often you've shared it, but every time I share my testimony, 1 to 15 guys come up and say, I needed that today.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to know that it's okay to say that.
Mm-hmm.
We reach more people with it, and it sucks for us, but he has given us the strength to get through it. He has given us the wisdom to understand that he's been with us the entire time, that his grace has always been there for us, that when we didn't need to think about it, we didn't think about it. When it would have been probably the end for us, we never thought about those things that happened to us. But then when we could get through it, when we would rely on him, he allowed us to see that.
I had a sponsee text me. He was at a meeting the other day, and he goes, how can people say they're thankful to be alcoholics or grateful? He's like, I hear guys talk about how they're grateful for all the stuff that they've been through. He used a different word for stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he's like, how can they be grateful for all this stuff that happened to them, all the trauma that happened to them, all the loss, the relationships, the divorce, the death? How can you sit there and say, I'm grateful that I'm sitting here today?
I love that question.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was like, oh, you just opened up Pandora's box. You open that door, I'm walking in.
It's funny you ask that question. How long do you got?
Yeah.
You know?
I was like, man, I can't text all this.
It's like, would you, and a short answer is, would you be who you are without all of that? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I anytime I say that too, they're like, why? I'm like, because it doesn't define the kind of person I am, all the things that happen to me, but there's so many lessons in what happened to me about overcoming and, you know, giving up to God and being the person I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am without the trauma, the loss, the everything, you know?
And he came back because when I challenged him on it, he goes, well, I wish I was the person that I'm becoming now back then.
No kidding.
Yeah, don't we all? I do too. Thank you.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
Consider it pure. Ooh, get out of the way there, buddy.
Consider pure joy, brother.
Yeah.
When you face trials, man.
Yeah, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. How can you not be grateful for it? We lived through it. Now we get to help others. It's just what it's about.
That it is giving back. It is passing on that whatever wisdom you might have found in the darkness.
You could call it the 12 step, and I'll call it discipleship.
There it is.
Same thing.
Absolutely.
That's why Celebrate Recovery to me, inside of a church, right? Celebrate Recovery, churches pay thousands upon thousands of dollars every year for leadership and discipleship tools. Thousands and thousands of dollars to get all these different programs. But yet there's one out there for free that produces both leaders and discipleship automatically. AA does it. Celebrate Recovery does it. NA does it. HA does it. Elemental P does it. All the programs do it. Sorry, man, there's too many of them out there.
I know.
Right.
But every single one of them is a discipleship factory. It is a leadership factory. Its natural course of action is both those things.
we've talked about this verse many times. It's tattooed on my arm, but 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. And Shane, you said something to me one time. You're like, what does the word endure mean? You asked me that.
Did I ask you what endure means? Yes, I did, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
We talked about that. Did you just look it up?
No, I haven't.
Because I'll go to it.
And when I bring that up to guys, because what do you think of when you think endure?
Immediately off the top, I think of resilience and weathering the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Surviving.
Suffer something painful or difficult patiently. Suffer patiently. Remain in existence. Last.
See, and I dig it.
Yeah.
So it means you're gonna. It's not. Hey, there might be a chance that you might suffer. It's no. You're going to.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus already tells us that.
Yeah.
It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
But I love read what it said last though, not just that patiently part, but
Remain in existence.
yeah,
Last.
remain in existence last.
At
That's
the end,
pretty
you're still
brutal.
one standing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a pretty brutal word.
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't sound like a brutal word.
No,
Endure it.
it sounds like okay, I'll endure it. It's no big deal. Thanks. Will you bring me a jalapeno peanut butter hot dog while I
I'll
endure
get
this?
through it. I'll get through it. It's like it's drawing that line in the sand, and digging your feet in and saying, you might weathering the storm. You might push me over, you might knock me down, but I know where my 2 feet are planted, and I'm going to get back up. I have one here. Psalm 62:11-12 says, and it talks about powerlessness. One thing has spoken, 2 things I have heard. Power belongs to you, God, and with you, Lord, is unfailing love. David is testifying that he heard God speak through the world and the word. Generally and specifically, general revelation is when God speaks through nature and conscience.
So we'll go Romans 7:18 for step 1 for the Celebrate Recovery side. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. The good old Apostle Paul.
That I want to do, I can't do.
Oh yeah, just go through
that
that
I
whole
do
big
do.
long list. But what I do,
I don't want to do.
yeah. So, look, man, what a fun episode.
This was good.
Yeah,
I like
liked
this.
it.
A lot of just.
I'm glad to
random
be
shit.
back. It's good to be back.
so good to have you back.
Hey, you know what? We didn't ever just say hi to Derek either.
Oh,
Poor
hey,
Derek's
Derek.
at home with his sciatic
Hey,
nerve.
I know what it's like.
Big baby.
Big baby. I even brought him a cushion down.
Yeah, I'm sitting on it.
Oh, are you? Yeah. It's a nice cushion.
Hey, man.
I think that one's the purple.
Derek, you're missing out, my friend.
If I'm not mistaken.
No, this is the black one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, on the inside.
Yeah.
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 I think that's the purple
It ain't bad.
version. It's not too bad at all.
I might not be able to get up, but we'll see.
What What do you got in clothes there, Mr. Seat Cushion?
Going back to that weed program, I felt so alone before I started working a program, and when I finally decided to, I focused in on the we, and I always say to everybody else, I was alone, but in this program, in recovery, I never have to be alone again if I don't want to be. And I hope that everybody takes that to heart, because you might feel alone, but you are not. Reach out.
What do you got, Big J?
Yeah. Don't. If you're afraid to do this, just know that somebody else has already done it before you. And it can be done. It's not going to be easy. Absolutely not. But it's going to be worth it. Can't climb the mountain alone. If you don't climb the mountain, you can't see the view.
Love it.
If you don't climb the mountain, you can't see the view.
I think you have that on your wall.
I do.
You do.
Yeah. I was trying. I got it messed up. If you don't climb the mountain, you can't see the view. And I get to do this. I'm very excited about that. I looked at that today. I was getting a little perturbed that I looked up there and I was like, you son of a...
It's such a good
And that's why I got the
reminder.
I think I need it in my office too.
Yeah, we probably need to get some of those made for us, like have somebody make some really good ones.
Yeah.
But I was happy when that one was gifted to me, so I figured I had to gift it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Especially since I don't have an office at the moment. I mean, my house is my office.
Yeah.
So, let me leave you Matthew 5:3. Happy are those who know they are spiritually poor. Like, there's a way back. Yeah, we do steps and principles, and so all of our principles come from the Beatitudes, which is, just beautifully written when you have to put them in context of recovery. But the whole Bible, 90% of the Bible is recovery. 10% of it is us screwing it up, just like our lives. If we will follow and admit that we are spiritually poor, man, God wants to do some amazing work in and through us. So I'm happy to see you here reading scripture. What did you think? I told you while you were gone, he picked up the scripture land for us.
I know. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's pretty nice seeing him open up.
Progress, not
And he went to
perfection.
church.
Yes.
Went to my church when I wasn't there.
Ooh, now it's my church. It's not my program, but it is my church.
It's my church.
I heard that one.
Yeah, they said they've been missing you, bro.
Oh, hey, you guys,
They
look.
did say that.
If you're not steppers, dive into it. You will become steppers. There's nothing greater than working the
Nothing wrong with
steps.
it. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
Absolutely. As someone who wasn't a stepper, best decision I ever made, hands down.
It will change your life if you will allow it to. So, hey, have a good week. God bless you guys, and we will see you soon.
Like, share, subscribe.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Oh, I am going to say something.
Yeah,
Like,
go ahead.
share, subscribe. We are on all podcast platforms. And we want to say thank you again to Tactile Turn.
Yes.
Go to tactileturn.com, enter in Sober15. You will get 15% off your purchase. And we will see you next week.
See ya.
Peace.